you kind of feel like you know them, and then I'm like, no,
Yeah.
now I'm actually talking to you, you
Yeah.
know. So
And you got to know like the mentally unstable. Like I was just so stressed out. I make fun of myself where I was like I'm like a little chihuahua, where I was like shaking and I'm like this all the
hey, you guys, welcome back to Real Talk.
With real siblings. And today's special guest, my girl from the whole season, Miss Natalie Stein.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
What up? What
We're
up?
so excited to have you. Yo, it was such a fun season to watch. You were a fascinating player to watch, especially obviously that last episode. So we have so many things we want to talk to you about, but thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you. And don't worry, I'm not gonna come for you guys. Like it's okay.
No, hey, this is real talk. If you need to come for us, come for us. All right.
Yeah, I
All the
mean,
gloves
don't
are
say
dropped.
us. Don't.
You're right.
I was Team Natalie.
Yeah.
You need to come for Moses.
If you need
so
to
just
come
go
for us
ahead.
equally, go for it.
I hope I got some love from you though from Jacob. Like, you love Jacob. I know you guys love Jacob because you were always talking great about him, but he likes me.
He
So
loves
I
you.
think by
He loves you.
He spoke
association,
so
Moses,
highly of you.
then
Yeah.
I'm cool.
You know
Yeah.
what? We'll get to it, but like by the end of the season, I had a change of heart. I
Okay.
did. I really did. I was a hater. I'm not gonna. I was a hater. I was saying, oh God, Natalie, blah, blah. But
I
like, no,
don't
honestly,
blame you though. Like watching those first couple episodes where I was like purple and like not showing, I actually was kind of like, oh good, because I was a mess. Like I was crying. Like I was just like, I was so stressed out. Like yeah, just hide all of that. Well, save me my airtime for later.
But you know what? By the end, like I actually felt a greater connection to you in the
yeah,
show. Like I felt like at the end I could see myself having a journey similar to yours in the show because you come in. We'll talk about it, in terms of like how you felt coming in. But I feel like you can come in with a plan, and then you get in the house, and like so many things can affect that plan, and it goes awry, and then you're just constantly trying to just keep up. So
Yeah.
and
you
know
did a
what?
great job.
To add to that, I did feel more connected to you by the end. I think part of it was that all my hate at the beginning was me recognizing that fear in myself. Like you have this idea that when you go into, you'll play a certain way, but I was like, I would probably play more similar to you than I'd like to admit. And I think that's where I was like,
And this might, I don't know if anyone will get this, but like it kind of reminded me of Carter from Survivor, where he actually was like, I don't see, no one's gonna remember this, but he was a character, like he was cast as like really outgoing and like fun, and then he shut down on the island. It was like super quiet and just didn't handle starvation. I wasn't really starved, but I was sequestered and isolated, and like I don't even know when I was fed because you didn't know the time. I didn't have a watch, and
Oh wow.
it's
pretty
disorienting,
intense.
it seems
They
like.
didn't even give you guys a watch. That's like solitary confinement.
Oh.
The only time I knew what time it was, well, I would watch the sun. But like I
What?
Wow.
would watch the sun, but I would when you turn your mic on, it would tell you the time. And that was the only time was when we activated our mics, and that's how I knew what time it was. Otherwise, I think some of
Wow.
the guys had watches. I don't wear a watch, so.
Yeah.
You know
Wow.
you're in prison when you have to tell the time by the sun. And you're like, okay, my shadow's over here. It must be noon.
I can't remember what day it was, but I remember the round didn't start forever. It was near the end, and it was like the day I was just like waiting and waiting. I'm like, when are they? Because you're locked away, and like there's not really a handler with you all the time. So I was just waiting for someone to come get me, and I'm watching the sun go down, and all of a sudden it's nighttime. I'm like, what the heck? Like that was 8 hours of me just sitting in a room by myself.
Wow.
I must
Well,
have been
we're gonna talk more about the conditions in the house and what that was like for you, especially coming in when you did. But first, we got to talk about the finale episode. That was wild.
First.
That was insane. Give us a run through of the episode, but especially that final four table.
Oh gosh. Okay, so it's like, where do I even start? So just by the time we got to Final Four, I was kind of a wreck already because the whole season had been this entire roller coaster for me of just like I felt like no one respected me, and I didn't have a good first impression, and so people weren't wanting to game with me. Like I was just too quiet and like closed off, and so I definitely don't blame them at all. And I don't feel like I was mistreated, but I felt like no one respected me. People thought I was a floater, and that made me just like I was really frustrated and trying to overcompensate for that, and I was like trying to do things, and then this didn't work out. Like the Brendan felt like that was such a failure, and then a date night happened, and like round 7, I was on a high. I felt confident. I was practicing my like jury speech already. Like I'm over prepared too, but also there's nothing else to do. So I'm working on my speech, and I'm feeling confident. My confessionals are confident. And then round 6 and 5, I just like went down this like downfall, whatever. And 5, I got like a lot of the people, I feel like their answers were negative towards me with the round 5, and some were cut out. But I took those and kind of blew them up. So I was like very, very in my head, and just started putting myself down, and I stopped believing in myself, and just like not healthy.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, but it was really sad and dark place for me. And I was the day of Final Four, we woke up and you're just like waiting all day. Like it was 8 hours of just sitting in a room, and I didn't have a TV or anything to occupy my mind. My book was already done. So I like just sat there and I remember I was like in a ball. It was cold. And I was just, it was cold. And so I was miserable. And I'm just like going through my
so
final.
sad.
This is really terrifying. It's
So
horrible.
dark. I'm going through the Final Four. Like I had like 4 fingers like this, and I would just go, okay, so this is you and this is them, and then like this is how it works. And I would like practice with Jacob coming in or Spencer, and like kind of how I wanted it to go or what I thought. And then I'd practice my final 2 speech. And the more I practiced, the worse it got. I started going, wait, that's not even a move, because it was a subtle thing. And I was like,
Yeah.
like I would, oh man, like when I voted myself out, I thought it was strategically like everyone told me they were voting Spencer. And so I put my vote on Rachel just in case Spencer played an LOS. So I thought it was really smart. And then I started realizing like, yeah, but it didn't work. So you can't use that. And I would start talking like Brendan vote, the one or the one that I wanted Brendan out, couldn't use that. Like I just started talking myself out. I'm like, cool, you have one play. Like you got Muna. Like, great. No one's gonna give you the win. And I just kind of broke apart. And then I went into robot mode of like, okay, you know what? Final Four, just you're gonna go in there, you're gonna show Billy that you can play. That's why I wanted to be the first one to speak. Yeah. And I wanted no one to speak first. That's why I like a bullet. But yeah, basically I was just kind of a wreck.
So why the heck did, I think who was it? Was it Josh or Jacob? One of them said they had Netflix. So how does one person have Netflix and you have nothing?
That was Jacob.
Like what? How did that happen?
Because there were like really nice bedrooms, and they had TVs. And I remember like my first couple night or before I got voted out, I had a TV in my room, but I couldn't get it to work. Like it was a smart TV, and I couldn't figure. Like I'm pretty good with technology. I don't know. I couldn't get it to work. And then when I got voted out, they rotated me, so I was in a room without a TV and everything. And so depended on like kind of if you got rotated out or where you were.
Yeah.
But I did get to watch one movie. I will say that I got to watch one movie near the end when I should have been napping. Deprived of sleep. You're also deprived of sleep.
We've heard that from a few houses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except for Jacob, who seems to be like eating snacks and watching TV and barely thinking about the game.
I was starving too, like because I don't know. You got to eat on their time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was very overwhelmed.
That wouldn't have worked for me. I'm like a 24/7 snacker. Like I need a snack, and so I wouldn't be able to like stay on a fixed schedule. Yeesh. Wow, that sounds insane.
Let's get to the highlight of that episode, which this was my first time watching Sequester. So I didn't know what to expect. Joy had prepared me for like some sort of Final Four. I knew it wasn't gonna be like a Survivor style Final 3 or typical Big Brother Final 2. So I was just like, what is going on? And then it was as dramatic and as emotional and as amazing as anything I've ever seen on these sorts of shows. What was that like for you as an experience? And more specifically, what happened when you came in firing at Billy and then ended up doing the opposite?
Oh gosh. I think one thing that people might also see is just like those. I'm very different, I think, than a lot of the players in that how emotional I get and like the emotional bonds. And like I knew Billy from an all-star mini that we did in July. So before we had filmed, it was Spencer, her and I were in the same starting room. And so I kind of like fell in love with the person that Billy is way before the game. And so for me, it was like we had this. That's why I was so hurt in the second round when I got out, because I had this like, we are bonded by that, but I hadn't done a good job of conveying it to her. So just to make that clear. But anyway, so I had made like this emotional roller coaster bond with Billy where I thought she betrayed me and then I betrayed her. And it was just like this like struggle. So I felt like a connection with her that I didn't really feel with Spencer and Josh. And when I felt like she was gonna drag me, most likely walking into Final Four, because she made it pretty clear that she didn't see my game, and that's fine. Like if I kind of had that view towards Josh, so totally get it. And when I made the threat, I was very surprised that Josh was quickly like, he's like, okay, like I expected like a threat back, like I had planned for all this, and I was like, oh, all right, well, we got 10 minutes, so I jumped the gun on that. Now what are we gonna do? And Billy's response was not also what I expected, but I should have, because
Yeah.
she doesn't take well to threats. So I just totally didn't think about that correctly. And so her response kind of made me backpedal because I was like, oh, now she's definitely dragging me. Like I'm for sure gonna be dragged. And so I was like subconsciously aware, like I need to change course, but I didn't like purposely go, we need to tie it up so Billy thinks I'm like getting good graces with Billy. Like it wasn't like a manipulative thing. I just really was like, we need to try something else.
Yeah.
And Muna had said at one point before she went that she's like, you want the two best players in the end. And so I kind of thought about the angle, and this is something that game players should do, is you don't want to sit next to the best player. Like you think that you can beat them and it'll make your win better, but like that never happens. You're the one that ends up losing. And then that I kind of just like I feel like I forgot all my training, like my studying of these shows. And I just was like, yeah, Muna's right. Like if I'm gonna lose, I want to lose to Billy.
Okay.
And I didn't want like I figured Billy was gonna drag Josh on the like 'cause now we've tied it. Sorry, I'm jumping in, but we've tied it, and Billy also just like really tugged at me. Like she did a great job. She handled that so perfectly, and I was like, let's do this. Let's try to get me and Billy sitting next to each other. So I voted Spencer with her, and I thought she would drag Josh, and I kept imagining like me and Spencer sitting next to each other at the end, the final two, and it made me angry because I kept thinking of season 3, like where Jess loses a Hunter, and not to say anything bad about Hunter's game, but I just didn't want to be like the Rob Goddess, where like the jury didn't see my game, and I feel like I played a better game than Spencer, but because he's flashier, and I kind of thought about like I don't know, the woman that people don't give the woman as much credit. And I just thought of all that, and me losing to Spencer made me so angry. I remember just being so angry. And I reacted by going, like, like you're not gonna win anyway. It's like let's get Billy there. Billy deserves it. Billy played a better game. I now like watching my game back, I'm like, okay, I need to give myself more credit. But I think Billy played beautifully, and I thought we just took her to 4 to slaughter her here. Like that's not fair. It just didn't feel right. I want her there. She deserved it. And that's what my thought process was in the moment. It was just like lack of confidence in myself.
Yeah.
I didn't give the jury credit. I don't know why. I counted jury votes. I counted 4 for myself. Like I should have thought that through more. And then just thinking like Billy in the end. And I didn't want Josh and Spencer in the end. So it was me blowing up their games out of anger. And then so it was a selfish and selfless thing at the same time.
Yeah.
So I mean, we saw obviously when it went to Wheel of Death and Josh is like, well, I said I'm dragging you. Did you remember that beforehand? I don't remember now if we saw that, like, saw him make that threat. So you knew that if it went to the Wheel of Death and if he got it, he was going to drag you. You knew that was 100%.
Yeah. So because he said it right when we went, or it was tied. So we had, I don't remember how much time, it was like 3 or 5 minutes to debate. And then if it tied again, it would go to the wheel. So I did fully know that. But I feel like I always use percentages. Like 75% of me was, he's going to drag you. And then 25% of me was like, maybe we can. He let Katie off the hook round 1, but logically it doesn't make sense. And I knew that he would be so hurt that I just destroyed his. Like he had it kind of lined up beautifully here. He got his ally to the end, not to drag him. Like he did what you're supposed to do, and here I just blew it up. So why would he not? I put him in this position, but so most of me, like I don't think I cared too. Like I was like kind of like stubborn. Like I'd already made my mind up that I was gonna lose, and I
Yeah.
wanted Billy there. So it sucks because it's losing because of your own lack of confidence and your
Yeah.
like low self-esteem. Like that's something really hard to get past, like looking back. Now that we're finally done, the finale aired, and I've been able to talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't feel as bad, but like the last 4 months I've like tortured myself. But
Aw.
then because I didn't know also how it was gonna be, like, did I just discredit Billy's game? But I think people have been able to really look at it and be like, Billy like did amazing with that.
Yeah.
She said what she needed to say. She played it perfectly, and she deserves like all the credit for that.
Do you feel like the game made you call into question who you thought you were? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I feel like I've said this like to other people that I feel I learned, and I wasn't aware that I have like a self-esteem issue. Like
Mm.
when I play the minis, I have sticky notes that have encouragement on them. Like I need that. And
Wow,
that makes me like, before I just thought like, oh, that's cute. Like I'm fine, And I'm like, God, like
Like, where's
why
my
can't
sticky? I need that sticky. You're like screaming
yeah.
at production.
I now I look back at other moments in my life and I'm like, oh my God, like
Mm.
you need more encouragement than maybe the other person. I always thought I was like, I'm really independent. I just always thought I was like kind of cocky, and I'm like, no, like look at all those times where like you needed someone there. And so I learned a lot about myself.
Mhm.
To be fair, they subjected you to prison like
It's true.
solitary confinement conditions.
Yeah.
So not having your food regulated, I don't know, maybe for me that's the biggest thing. Two, you have no source of like entertainment in terms, you finished your book, you have nothing to like
Yeah.
watch or read or think about. And three, I mean, I think that's kind of a lot to
Yeah.
make everyone's mental health a little bit different than it would, than
Yeah.
baseline.
Yeah.
Nobody's
So
at their best in that environment.
yeah,
And
so
I couldn't work out. I usually work out every morning, so I didn't have like the endorphins. I should just try to do like
Yeah.
push-ups on the floor. But
Something.
also I want to
I don't know what
say
Marcelo was doing. What didn't he say he was doing like 1,000 jumping jacks a day?
I should have
That
bought
obviously
a
made up
jumping
fact.
rope. Yeah, I wish I had like done more to work out, but like you never knew when your like handler was gonna come get you too. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I gotta have my makeup and my hair done. But also, I think a big thing was that I took this game so seriously, you guys. Like it was like the Hunger Games for me. Like it was like everybody when they got eliminated, I was like crying because I felt like I'm really empathetic, and so like round one, seeing Josh, like this meant so much to him, and for him to go out, like I remember like I was just tearing up at the elimination.
Yeah.
And like this was a big deal for me because I've always been a fan of these shows, and like I never thought I'd have like a good enough personality and like a big personality that they would cast. So for
Yeah.
me, this was like, oh my God, this is a big opportunity. This is the only chance you're gonna get. Like it was so important to me that the pressure, I think I crippled myself with like the crippling pressure. So
Let's talk about that, because you have played 6 minis. Is that right? My source is correct.
Yeah, that's actually a lot.
Oh wow.
What a beast.
It
So
doesn't
like,
feel like that much.
so then having played so many, what was your impression going into the house? Was it what you expected? Was it very different from your experience in the minis?
It felt like an all-star mini. Like, when I play the minis, I mostly just do it to have fun. Like, I don't really I don't put pressure on myself to win. It's more of like kind of just an entertainment thing. So like the live version, I was gonna take more seriously. Like I was gonna win it. Like no doubt. Like I was just so focused on winning. So I came at it a very different angle than like we're just gonna meet some people. Instead, I was like, trust no one.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like I didn't really prepare any like for I mean I still like for minis I would study twists. I don't like looking dumb, and I like wanted to be prepared. But so the live version I studied every single twist. But
Wow.
it's so hard to think that fast and like come up, like if it's a brand new twist I've never seen, and like come up with, I don't know. Like when they sit you down in the living room, they announce the twist, and then the timer goes off. Well, they ask if you have any questions, and then the timer goes off. So like I don't know how people can think that fast.
I feel like you and Josh were opposites in the sense that, well, I know he spent a lot of time strategizing. Maybe you and Jacob
so
are more
smart.
opposite, but like there's players who can build a strategy outside of the game and it can be very robust and account for all these different variables. Then there's players who at the moment of decision can do all those same calculations in their head. And it's a totally different play style. And I feel like there's not often a lot of overlap in that personality type. And yeah, it seemed like you're very much the former.
Yeah, I'm a bookworm. So I'm not,
Yeah.
I always say this, I'm not street smart, I'm book smart. Like I have to put a lot of effort into studying. So
Yeah.
I'm not naturally like, I'll give everyone credit for that. Like, yeah, Josh, I feel like Jacob was someone who really surprised me strategically. Like I've watched him in minis and I knew he had like a great social game. He's so likable. But then to see like date night when he had like his full plan, I remember just being like, whoa. Like that's a super I'm forgetting the word I want to say, but like intricate. Like if it had worked, if we had all put the effort in to make it work, like pretty brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about actually what I think is one of your bigger moments. And it's funny because you mentioned, when you were trying to practice like your final two speech and you felt like you couldn't think of a move. I felt like one of your big moves was when you talked Spencer out of picking you in the battle back. And I mean, you did it really effectively. And then, obviously that like started the whole, Shireen blow up. And Shireen was like, my name is Shireen, not like, I forget how
So I
you,
was
you
like, I'm
pronounce
Sharon.
it.
sorry.
Yeah. She was like, not Sharon. Like, and that
Guys,
was the
I
whole
used to say
thing.
Sharin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was all upset about that.
Sharin.
But then that started like, Billy versus Brent. And so, you had that moment. And then you had another moment in front of the jury when they had like that jury, what was it? I think it was called like Shark Tank. Was that the name of that twist or
Yeah.
something?
Oh,
Shark Tank.
oh,
That
was it called?
episode.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
7.
where you explain to the jury your game. And so to me, I felt like you had those really great moments where you had time to prepare and you were able to
Yeah.
give these really persuasive and convincing reasons, so, why not to pick you or why, what your game moves were. So I guess like, why do you feel you couldn't maybe like maintain that or build upon that? Because I felt like if you were able to build upon that, I think you would have had a really great case for why you should win this
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. And I didn't even think like with the Spencer when I talked him out, like I don't even think I think I was so focused on the backlash of me throwing Shireen and Billy under the bus that I didn't really see the beauty in like what I had done until Muna actually came back. And Muna came up, she's like brilliant. She's like, I was rooting for you. Like that was amazing. And then I
Oh
was like,
wow.
oh, you're right. That was pretty great. Like that was awesome. But I would be so proud of that. And then 7, like I knew I wasn't gonna get safety, so I was like, let me just use this to talk to the jury. And but you'd be so proud of that, but then something negative would just completely like you focus more on the negative, they'd get bigger. And I was listening to my problem was that I was listening to the players in the game instead of what the jury, because the jury are some of the players in the game should go to jury, but I should have been more like focusing on how great I did at 7, where I got to talk to them. Like that is such a huge thing, and I thought I did a really good job. And instead of focusing on like the players in the game, how they thought I was a floater, like who cares what they think? They're not the ones voting yet. Like the jury's the one that has all the information that they have at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know,
I
but I
think
think
there's
it was
also
just yeah. Go ahead.
sorry, I feel like your play style or personality, maybe even like there's such a difference between being on the offense and being on the defense that I feel like maybe in that moment being defensive came somewhat natural to you, and you just were
Yeah.
able to kind of have that Josh think, right? Where it's just you're able to like, oh, this is what I need to do to not get killed, like a survival instinct, as opposed to going on offense, perhaps is much more like aggressive and manipulative, and like there's a lot more that goes into that kind of almost like a predatory mindset as opposed to like a antelope.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know.
I like what you're
Great.
saying. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's actually really, yeah, that super makes sense. I remember I was watching back, I was like, she did fantastic in talking Spencer out. But, it was like, yeah, he called you out and you immediately like were responding and you were confident and you said exactly what you needed to say. And yeah, and the same thing too, like in being in front of the jury, I guess, maybe feeling like when your back is up against the wall, you're like,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to come out swinging. And then you do your best versus
Yeah.
like, oh shoot, now I have to like plan an attack and to go on the offensive. And there's so many different ways you can go with that you like get in your head so much that you're just like, oh crap, I can't do it.
Yeah. I mean, going in the defensive is something like you're like, I have nothing to lose because I'm gonna go like maybe Spencer will
Yeah.
battle me. But like on the offensive, like when everyone was blowing up at the eliminations, I was like, don't say anything, because also I don't think before I speak a lot, so it doesn't come out the way I want it to. And so I was like, just be quiet, don't say anything, because you don't want to bring attention to yourself in a negative light. Like I feel like people came off like they blew up their own games in those moments.
Yeah.
So it was better that I didn't, but then at the same time they were like, we don't see you.
Yeah.
It's because actually, now that we're going with that theory, adding to that, you had the most dominant competition winning the whole season. Like, you wrecked Katie. You know what I mean? That was, again, a defensive moment where your survival was at stake and you blew through her. So I don't know. Maybe there's something there for future minis, Big Brother, All-Star season, whatever comes next. That's a very interesting play style or personality type.
Yeah, and then people can totally analyze my gameplay and like match who they are as a, like now when you have more players, you know that question where like who do you most play like?
Yeah.
But when you don't see anyone that's like you, it's hard to know. Like me, I
Yeah.
feel like people will be able to use me as an example for their own gameplay
For
and
sure.
like what not to do. Like I knew things like not to do, but then you do it anyway. So
Yeah.
you know.
And Brent said the same thing. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you can't really help who you are. You can't help your natural instincts, you know? Like if your instincts is to just like I know I would always okay, I'm gonna comment and I'm gonna ask you a question. I would always yell at you at the screen when like, you know, Brendan would come up and be like, yo, like I heard, you know, my name is in your mouth, and you'd be like, yep. And I was like, why?
Every time.
Why are you admitting? So I mean, I can sort of get it, but is that it? Like, but didn't you think coming in you'd have to lie? Like, did you think coming in, okay, I don't want to have to lie, or do you think coming in, oh, I know I'm gonna lie and I'm gonna be good at it?
No, see, my problem is I always like at work, like if I ever mess up, I own up to it right away.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
default for me to always tell the truth because in my experience, that helps. It, you know, if someone finds out the lie, it was a lie later on, they're gonna blow
Yeah.
up more. Like with the Muna case, like me telling, like being really honest about it, that worked in my favor because she
That's true.
respected that. I mean, that was Muna. If it had been like Brendan, like that, I don't know if I should have just said no. You're like that's crazy, but I think it's just a
Yeah.
default for me.
But then if you're not a natural liar,
Yeah,
like he would have seen through it anyway. You know what I
My
mean? So like
sister-
there's only so
Yeah.
much you could do.
yeah. My sister was like, "Oh, you do this when you lie," and I'm not gonna say it just in case I play again. But there's something I do every
You have a
time.
tell? I mean, now we're all gonna watch
Yeah, now
45
I'm
hours
just
of
gonna go
Natalie
back and
footage
watch
be like,
every time.
It's the
you
nose
know?
twitch. Yeah, it's every time she lies.
I mean, that's good. It's better to be like, yeah, my instinct is to tell the truth versus like, yeah, my
Yeah.
instinct is to just be a sociopath and lie all the time. It's like, okay, that's
I'm human.
I mean, it's better outside the house. In the house, unfortunately.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I need to do it. Oh, sorry. I was
No,
gonna
go
say
ahead.
I needed to do what Billy did and watch YouTube videos on how to lie. That's what Billy did.
That's true.
Speaking of outside the house, you've been outside the house for a while now, and even obviously you're outside the house the whole season. What was it like being outside the house, seeing yourself interacting with fans and the other players? What was that experience like?
Oh, so weird. Like no one expected me even to be on the cast in the first place, so that was just hilarious. That even like my friends in the mini community didn't realize my absence for a week because it was during tax season too, so I got away with I had an alibi. But no one like expected it, but then like the love that like people that I played with, because obviously they're the ones that knew me, they were just so supportive and loving, and I'm just like, oh, just wait. They're like, oh, you're gonna win, and I'm like, But
Like,
the first couple episodes, I was not. It was like cringy, but then also like, oh, thank God I'm not shown, because it was just hard to see yourself.
Yeah.
And then I think I got used to it, and kind of by third, fourth, and I'm getting like more, and like I had like pretty good confessionals. That was another thing. It was really hard to do confessionals, like getting used to it and talking in the present tense and not past tense.
All right.
yeah.
Study Jacob and Brendan. They gave phenomenal confessions. Oh, and Billy too. But that was hard. Anyway, as I was saying, I don't know. Once the love of like random people I didn't know, then it almost made me feel worse because everyone was rooting for me, and
Because
I
then
knew
they're
the end
invested in you,
result.
and you're like, you guys are about to be disappointed.
Yes, like gonna crush their little hearts is what I keep saying. And I mean, it is what it is. Only one person gets to win. So
Yeah.
but I was not in like a good place the whole 4 months like it was airing. Like I started like shutting out my friends. Like just couldn't sleep after episodes. Like you guys not good.
Did our video cast make it worse? Was it Moses? Does he need to apologize to you? Because
I ain't apologizing for nothing.
If
This
he
is real talk.
contributed to you not sleeping.
Rachel, she's like, don't watch any like recaps. Don't watch anything. Don't go on Twitter. I didn't search my name on Twitter. I've never seen the
Don't
YouTube
listen to
chat.
Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel.
Yeah,
Stop trying to
Rachel got
take
out
money out
before
our
you did.
mouths.
But she's so wise
That's
and
how we make a
supportive,
living.
guys.
It's not.
But I can't help but watch the recaps, you guys, because I love them. I love the strategy. I've just that's always what I've done as a fan.
For sure.
And then it was about me. Want to hear about me? But no, what I would do is I would like forward if it was some like a lot of times I'm just like, oh, they don't know. It's not their fault. Like they didn't see. But then
Which is
sometimes
true.
like,
Yeah.
were you watching? But I know it wasn't really that. It would be like someone tagging me and then being like, you suck or something.
Oh, like yeah. We never did that. That's a
No.
special kind of toxic.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's
And you
never
could-
personal.
Yeah.
You were so fun too. Like I loved
Tried.
your impressions. Like Moses, I think you did like Jacob really funny at Final Four when I watched that. Or not Jacob, sorry, Josh. But
When he was whispering like death to you.
I laughed so hard. I was watching the dishes while I was doing that, and I had to like stop. I had to rewind it.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
So where are we gonna see you next? Like what's next for you? What do you I mean,
Oh.
you're certainly a Sequester like staple. You know, you've done the
That's
minis, you've done the
crazy.
main show. I know. Like where are we gonna see you next?
I'm taking a long break from like org community, just all the online games. Like voting someone out sounds like the most painful thing. Like it feels like my heart still hurts. So definitely won't be seeing me in any of those stuff. And I don't. People like say like, would you come back? I don't like. I don't think I'm like as entertaining. Like I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
think I would want to relive that experience again. But I definitely, if I did, would come at it differently. Like I would more carefree.
Yeah.
Like I would treat it like one of my minis on a Saturday night. Be like, just gonna have some fun.
Yeah.
But
Look, I have a whole approach for you.
oh, sure.
X the Natalie, no Natalie. You're the Stein. You dye your hair black, get a full mohawk straight up, and you just like wear all leather and like studs. You just come with a whole different personality. Be like, what up? It's the Stein, and just be that. I think you'll get in the zone. You'll win. I got you.
Don't do that. Don't do actually
Don't do that.
don't do that. I was with you with the black hair because I was thinking of like Danny Donato, like when she she used to be like black hair and then she was blonde. I liked black hair Danny. So you could
Hey, she didn't win. You know why? It's the mohawk. Danny had a mohawk. She'd be a champ right now.
She was worse when she was blonde. She was better when she had black hair. Like I liked her more. I feel like everybody likes her more.
No, I think you're right.
But I feel like, not to say that people should, you know, target you now if you ever play these games, but I feel like when your back is against the wall, like you play better. So maybe you should like pull a Josh, you know, look for an LOS or do something to like completely like ostracize yourself. And then you get voted into elimination and then you have to fight your way back. And then you can have to,
that was like the Phoenix moment for me, was like ripping the band-aid off and be like, hey, you got like voting out, it's not that bad, like do it. Like I should start off every game, just vote me out and then win the battle and then
So would you ever apply for like a Big Brother or something like that?
Oh God. I don't know. I don't think so. I think like being like this was already, I mean, this wasn't like that. Oh God, sorry. I'm trying to think of the population that watched, like the number of people. Like this was a much smaller scale, but it was already big enough that it bothered me, like, because it makes me worried about like my professional career too.
Oh yeah,
like, I have to think about that. So I might still do Survivor and like I would apply. I'm sorry.
You heard it here first, folks. Natalie Stein is on the next season of Survivor. This has been real talk.
We're gonna put that on the thumbnail. Be like, Natalie on Survivor next ? Because
I just love that show so much. It would be like a dream come true. But Big Brother, I don't think I could do. It's just too long. Too long. It's too long of a show. I have a job. I love my career. I just, unless I was like the old lady, like when I'm 80, then they cast me then.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it.
This has been awesome. Thank you so much. This was really, I mean, like I said, it was definitely a revelation, like your journey in terms of like how I viewed your game in the beginning and then how I viewed it towards the end, and like speaking to you now and like hearing your thoughts and your insight. Like it really just, it makes all of it make sense. So thank you for being so real with us.
Yeah. And real quick, I will say that like Brent had mentioned too, like these sorts of shows, winning first place isn't necessarily always how to win, right? Like it's not like you're winning millions of dollars, like, but you went from like fetal position, like in the cold to like winning over fans and winning over house guests. I feel like by the end, Billy was giving you love, Josh giving you, you'd formed all these connections. So in a way, Josh is the real winner, but you're also an alternative winner. Good job.
Yeah, I'm happy with my story.
Yeah.
I'm like, now that it's over, I'm okay with, you know, it was a gift to get edited, like good edit like that. So shout out to Audrey. But thank you both, because even just talking about it is so helpful, and like having a place to talk about it. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Of course. Thank you.
Well, we love that you
people.
joined us. Do you want to give a sign out for us? We've been having everybody do it. Just drop like a, just tell them to like and comment and subscribe, and then you can say it's been Real Talk with Real Siblings.
Yes. I'm gonna mess it up because now I'm like building it up.
All right, you got to go hype. You got to bring it. Bring the Stein. We don't want to see
Guys.
Natalie.
Don't mess up your life. You need to like and subscribe right now, because if you put good into the world, it will come back to you.
Yes.
That is true.
Yes.
That is true.
That's what I'm talking
Yo,
about.
Natalie
You only
with
hear
some
that
bars
kind of positivity and uplifting message on Real Talk
with Real Siblings. Thanks, y'all.